Welcome to Cinemophile, where we bring you the best in independent, documentary, and foreign films, and we talk to the people who made them. I'm your host, Mike Caspar, and you can find out more about the program by going to cinemophilepod.com. Our guest today on Cinemophile is the director Stephanie Laing. She's responsible for the new film Tow, which is based on a shockingly true story, an underdog story, of Amanda Ogle, a homeless woman who one day wakes up to find that her 1991 Toyota Camry that she's been sleeping in has been towed along with all of her worldly possessions. It's got a great cast, including the lead in this, which one of my favorite actors, Rose Byrne, along with Octavia Spencer, Demi Lovato, Ariana DeBose, and Dominic Sessa. This is a really well done film. It hits so many of the notes for empathy for the character, the storyline, the struggle, and once again, an amazing performance by Rose Byrne, who just is such an accomplished artist in so many different projects that she's taken on. Once again, we're joined today by the director of Tow, and that would be Stephanie Laing. Stephanie, welcome to Cinemophile. Let's start with how you found this story, sort of what inspired you to move forward with this film, Tow.
So I was looking to do a film, and I was sent the script by one of the producers, Brent, who actually knew the real Amanda, still knows the real Amanda. I read it and just devoured it and loved the character so much and felt frustrated for her and felt like I was on her journey, fighting and cheering her on. And I was reading it while I was working on the Apple series Physical, that Rose Byrne started. And so I have had a relationship with Rose from that. We did 3 seasons of that show together. And she walked by me after I finished the script, and I just knew it was her. And thankfully she agreed. And then the writer's strike happened. And so once the strike was over, Annie did a rewrite on it for her. And then we got this incredible cast. But I just knew that it would be Rose because she just toes that line between, no pun intended, towing, between comedy and drama. So specifically, right? In a way that you're cheering for her and you love her, even though like Amanda as a character in a movie is not, she's not perfect.
I think you said that beautifully because she is in a very rarefied era of actors who can play comedy and drama as effectively as she does. I think she is hysterically funny. I loved her in Neighbors. There's been so many films that she is very
Oh
funny, and
yeah.
I'm watching her as in Tow, trying to kind of dissect how she does it. And because it's much more of a dramatic role here, but she's just amazing at her ability to move back and forth along that spectrum of acting.
Yeah, no, she really is. And then I think when you combine her with, with someone like Octavia Spencer, who obviously
Yeah.
is a powerhouse in her own right, and then some, right? And Octavia, we worked together really closely, but what we did a lot of times there's some pretty emotional scenes in the movie, and that obvious, were scripted, but I would tell Octavia to say a line to Rose that wasn't scripted that would poke at her. That was sort of a fun process of like how do we get Rose today,
Yeah, and speaking of that, the cast you mentioned, Octavia Spencer, we've also got Elsie Fisher in the film, who was wonderful. Oh gosh, where am I going here? Demi Lovato, who was yeah, just a revelation. I had not seen her. I'm sorry to say this. I shouldn't say this out loud, but I had not seen her much before this, and I thought she did a great job.
Yeah.
There's so many people in this film. That's the thing, top to bottom. Everyone that's in the film is really good.
I know, I know. I often say like, sometimes a movie can be really hard because you're casting it. Casting is hard, but this movie was really the casting was the easy part. I think that, everyone loved the story and understood how the frustration, of Amanda's fight and how one voice matters and sort of took that on and, and everyone said yes. So we were really lucky. And I think everybody also wanted to work with Rose, and then they wanted to work with Octavia, and then of course Dominic and Dominic Sessa and Simon Rex,
Yeah.
and Demi Lovato. It was so nice to see Demi return to the screen. She hadn't, done anything in a few years. And yeah, we got really lucky, but we had a great story. So we're really fortunate.
Because the story itself reveals the human condition, how she is, how Amanda is struggling to overcome adversity in her personal life and so many other different ways, her relationship with her daughter. But it also shines a light on the idea of where you are in the social strata, if you will, financially, and
Mhm.
how many disadvantages, inherent systemic disadvantages you have to navigate in order to get out from under things like what we see in the film. I thought you did a really great job. It's undersold, but it's effective in the way that you make the point in the film. I would love to talk about that part of it.
I think that we really, as a filmmaker, I'm very attracted to stories that are, character driven, often based in some, inspired by something that really happened, and just the absurdities that of life, right? And just how hard it is right now, even to speak to a human on when you need a customer service problem, or you call and you can't get anybody on the phone. I've been trying to call MetLife Insurance for days now, and I can't get anybody to answer. So just that frustration and sort of lack of human contact and this sense of community and how important it is to not be isolated. And so when I read it, I was just so surprised by Amanda's tenacity, right? She just was not going to give up. And I found it really interesting because I spoke to the real Amanda and she said something, she said if someone had apologized, if someone had just said they were sorry, I probably would have given up. So no one did. And the idea that, you would spend not spoiling anything, but a very, very long time trying to get your car back when you didn't do anything, she didn't do anything wrong. And of course, like previous in her life, she may have done something wrong. She's not blameless. None of us are. But in this case, like she didn't do anything wrong. And the lack of decency and the system being so broken, just watching her fight that uphill battle and finding herself and finding her sense of community along the way and never giving up and just how important, especially today, like one voice matters. And when you join, in with your community, how that voice can be amplified and make a difference.
Again, she is living in her car we see at the beginning of the film, and her life is unraveled. And again, the way the story unfolds is it doesn't front load a lot of the information about there. We get to know her, and then we see how all through her life, through her relationship with her daughter and with other people in her life, we see it. And then the one of the more significant aspects of her life and her struggle is also another thing that it's underplayed in the sense of it's not something that overwhelms the character. It doesn't overwhelm the story, but it's in that
Mhm.
kind of in the ether of why is it that Amanda continues to struggle and she can't get out of her own way in many respects. So we see that, and this is where Rose Byrne is, in my opinion, in watching the film, that's really where she really lands on the right tone and the way that
Yeah.
her character unfolds. Go ahead, please.
No, I completely agree with you. And one of my favorite moments in the movie, even speaking more to Octavia and giving her a line that Rose didn't know was coming, was the scene when Octavia asks her how many friends she has. And I had said to Octavia, I was like, ask her. And in that moment, like you see like Rose's performance where she's like, well, and it's such a beautiful thing because you see Rose as Amanda realizing she doesn't have any friends because her daughter doesn't count. And maybe not able to accept that information in that moment, but then for the rest of the movie, realizing that she needs that community, right? And just more to more to what you're saying about her with Rose and that tone and just, and not so much like necessarily underplaying it, but it's like there's so much going on in her life, right? And of
Yeah,
course, like
yeah.
she's in AA and trying to be sober, and we don't really understand that entirely till the end of the movie, which I think is another just incredible performance by Rose when she does give her, her first share, that the choice to it didn't feel rehearsed, right? And that it's something that Rose and I talked about. It's just like it just came out, obviously it was scripted, but it doesn't feel scripted. It feels honest. And I think she's just so great at a true, honest, grounded performance, as is everybody in this movie.
We're speaking with Stephanie Laing. She is the director of this terrific narrative film starring Rose Byrne called Toe. That must be one of the joys of being on that side of the camera. You have thrown, I wouldn't call it a curveball exactly, but you've thrown something at an actor and you're waiting
Hmm.
for what's going to happen next. And the ability of someone of the caliber that Rose Byrne is, and to see their reaction, it's going to feel pretty heartening, pretty amazing to watch them stay in character and deliver something as honest as we
Hmm.
see in the film. Am I overstating that, or is that?
Oh, no, no, not at all. I mean, there were many times where I just forgot to call cut until they would stop and look at the camera, and I'm like, oh, right, cut, because you're just so. It's like you could just talk all day. I don't know. You could just stay in it. So yeah, that happened many times. I mean, it also happened with Ariana DeBose because I think she's playing a really interesting character in this and gets to be funny and but is hiding something, and there's an emotional scene with her as well. But it's like it's so tonally interesting that it's writing that balance, right? As much as like Rose's performance is like writing the balance of comedy and drama, the tone of the entire movie is, and all the characters are. And when Demi, of course, when Demi sang, I mean, I think we were all in tears behind the scenes.
Yeah. It's a good sized cast and everyone does a great job. I really just enjoyed spending time with everyone in the film, with maybe the possible exception of Corbin Burnson's character, Martin
Oh
LaRosa,
yes.
but that's what he was there to do. He was there to be that guy. So it's good to see him. I haven't
Yeah.
seen him in something in quite some time. Who
I
was
know
it
he's
that
a great villain, right?
yeah, yeah, he really sold it. I mean, and the fact that we know him mostly from being an attorney in his previous
I
iterations
know.
as an actor.
Yeah, yeah. I
Who
know. I know.
who was the woman that was the head that when she went to apply for the job in the not the kennel. What am I trying to say? The groomers. Who was that?
Oh, dear God. Deirdre Friel. Yeah.
I've seen her, and
Her,
I
she's
was one of those people. I
yes.
know her. Where do I know her from?
She's so great. She was well, she was in Physical with the show that with Rose and I.
Okay,
And she's a great comic actress. She's been in a lot of things.
okay.
But yeah, I just knew she would, again, she understands the tone, right? It's like understanding the assignment, and I love the two of them together. I mean, in Physical they played, best friends and we talked a lot about like aerobics in the 1980s,
I know. I
Yeah.
know I know that's fairly random to pull her out of it, but now I remember I just did a quick search. She was in The Sopranos. I know her from The Sopranos.
Yeah, she's really great actress. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Again,
yeah.
just an example of across the board, the kind of cast that you brought in to do this project, that everyone is so good at it. And the reaction to the film, by the way, did a little research. The reaction has been really great. And I'll just
Yeah,
say right now it's 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and the reviews are really, really positive. So,
that's really nice. I know it'll never stay at 100%. So we know that. We know that. Someone today sent me a text. It was like a screenshot of Citizen Kane at 99%. He's like, "You're better than Citizen Kane." I'm like, for a hot minute, and it's all good. And I would just say, like, to talk about like the cast for a second, like my partner in casting is Sherry Thomas, and she is an incredible casting director. She thinks out of the box. She does, Pluribus and, put Henry Winkler in the TV series Barry, put Bryan Cranston in Breaking Bad. I mean, to have a
wow.
partner like that is so essential in pulling these ensembles together. And we just have such a shorthand. Like she'll say, what about da 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 for a movie? I'm casting something right now. And I'm like, yes, go. We don't have to like telling me, I trust her completely and she's got a great vision and just is so respected. So I have to absolutely say Sherry Thomas, everybody needs one of those.
Well, and also, can I congratulate you? A little off topic, but like Palm Royale. I mean, come on, that is such an awesome series, and you're part of that. You've directed 7 episodes of that to work around
Yeah.
Kristen Wiig. You've worked around some high level comedic talent in your career, Carol Burnett. I mean, the list of people at Palm Royale is just off the charts. But
But,
yeah. Is that something now this is obviously not a comedy, but do you feel
hmm.
are you moving, do you feel like in your career you drama, comedy, a mixture? How do you feel like, where's your wheelhouse at this point in what you're doing?
I think that I jokingly say sometimes I'm stealing it from a friend who said that comedy was the only thing that hadn't tried to kill her. And and I think that might be true for me. So I sort of live in the dark places in between. And I find it hard to take, like, at least for me as a storyteller, like, things too seriously. I like weird, and sometimes weird is funny, and sometimes weird is just weird and dramatic. So I think I would that's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Nothing nothing too nothing too earnest one way and nothing too dramatic the other way, right? Where it's sort of like you're riding the line, and I think that that comes from the characters in the story and just the performance and down to like how the characters walk, inherently. Like, you can be in a hard drama, but if somebody walks a certain way or has certain performance, tick, like Kristen Wiig, in Palm Royale season one, did a lot of screaming. And Rose in Physical did a lot of like picking, aerobics, leotards out of her butt. So, if you focus on things are funny, things are sad, and
Yeah.
so I really appreciate the details and performance.
Right. I mean, some of the greatest films ever made have had that beautiful contrast. I mean, you look at some of the Coen brothers'
Yeah.
work, so many of the great films that they've made are based on that thin line between what's funny and what's absolutely horrifying. So,
Right?
well,
Right?
yeah, yeah. Well,
That's
congratulations
right.
on Toe. Yeah, I'm again, I think it's just an enjoyable watch. Great characters, great cast. Rose Byrne is a goddess among us in terms of her talent, her ability to own these roles that she takes on. I want to let people know that Toe premiered at last year's Tribeca Film Festival and will be in theaters coming up across the country on March 20th. Please be looking for Toe. And Stephanie Laing, thank you. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your work.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
You have been listening to Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar, the place where you will hear from the best in independent documentary and foreign filmmakers. Please check out our previous interviews as well as upcoming interviews and special programming by going to cinemaphilepod.com. We are also available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube, searchable under Cinemaphile with Mike Kaspar. Until next time, thank you for listening.